Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Students, today we are going to learn lesson number 8, tourism and history. So generally students, we know we travel from place to place. Many times we travel from our village to city, city to village, and for different purposes. It means sometimes some marriages are there in our village, then we run hurriedly to our village. Sometimes we go to some big cities for shopping. So by that way here, when we travel from one place to another with one special purpose, so that is called tourism. Earlier students, the tradition of traveling is quite old in India. People used to travel for various reasons. It means in our India, this tradition of traveling, it is old, quite old. It means from ancient period, people are traveling from one place to another. Earlier they were using different sources, animals, or different other sources, and people were trying to travel. They were traveling for trade, for pilgrim places, or for fair festivals. So when people were traveling from one place to another, sometimes for holy places, sometimes some for fair festivals. So India, it means here there is a diversity in the religion, in the language, and as per the culture, we get differences and diversity in the festivals, fairs. Now people travel to different countries also from our country, and even from other countries also people come to our country. Overall, sometimes people visit to different festivals like that Durga Puja, Ganesh festival of our Maharashtra. So that time different type of decoration we see. It means that time people mostly there on the road. Different types of decoration they see, they gather, and not only from our Maharashtra, from different places they gather here to see this decoration. So people travel from one place to another for trade, for pilgrim places, for education. Sometimes for study purpose also people go to other countries, or from other countries people come to our country. So this is from ancient time, ancient period. This is taking place in our country, not only in our country, even in the world. This happens. Now here another one paragraph given students to us of Buddhist literature and art. About that means in the teaching of Buddhism. It means Gautam Buddha preached the knowledge to the people, and from always this Buddhist monks those were there that time, they were traveling from one place to another, and always they not stop at the one place. Always they wander from one place to another, and they were teaching to the people about Buddhism. So Gautam Buddha or his followers, those were there that time, in ancient time, they were traveling from one place to another, and while traveling, they visited many places and they taught to the people about Buddhism. So this is also one type of tourism from the ancient time. After that, students, if we see, Yuan Shang, the Chinese monk, traveled to India in 630 CE. In the medieval period, Sant Namdev, Sant Eknath, Sant Guru Nanak, Ramdas Swami traveled extensively in India. It means these some people of medieval period also were traveling, and they were passing their knowledge from one place to another. And this is also one style, it is coming in the tourism. So Buddhist literature or after that people of medieval period, they were traveling from one place to another place to give their knowledge to the people, and this is coming in the tourism. Stop this.
नीचे नीचे पॉज कर
Now students, if we see here second paragraph, Yong Chong, the one traveler from China, he traveled at different places in 630 CE. Like same it is from our India also, especially from our Maharashtra, if we see many saints of that time, of the medieval period, they were traveling from one place to another to preach or to give knowledge of religion to the people. So in that, Sant Namdev, Sant Eknath, Guru Nanak, Ramdas Swami traveled extensively in India. So Yong Chong from China, he traveled in 630 CE. After that, Sant Namdev, Sant Eknath, Guru Nanak, Ramdas Swami traveled in our India at the different places, and they also taught, gave knowledge, religious knowledge to the people. It means that this is also traveling, this is also tourism of the medieval period of India. Now with these students, if we see second point here, one point given, do you know? So in that, first one here, European traveler given, his name is Benjamin. So Benjamin of Tudela is known as the first European traveler or discoverer. Benjamin, he is one European traveler. He traveled from Europe at the different places, and while traveling, he wrote his experiences in his diary. And these experiences nowadays we are using as the history of Europe or the history of tourism of Europe. Now here, if we see, he was born in Spain, and during the period of the 1159 to 1173 CE, he traveled to France, Germany, Italy, Greece, Syria, Arabia, Egypt, Iraq, Persia, India and China. So he maintained diaries of the accounts of his travels, and his diaries are viewed as important historical documents. It means students, while traveling in these periods, it means this is a 12th century, and in that time when he was traveling at the different places, he visited to many countries, and while visiting, whatever his experiences he took, that he wrote in his diary, and that one knowledge nowadays, because these are the documents nowadays, became the source of history to us. So the tourism, it means the traveling of Benjamin, it became very important to us to get the knowledge of Europe from the past, from the medieval period. After that, we see another one here, European traveler given, his name is Marco Polo. So Marco Polo, the Italian traveler of the 13th century, introduced Asia, especially China to Europe. He stayed in China for 17 years. The Marco Polo was traveling. He is one Italian traveler, and he was traveling in this century, 13th century, and especially introduced to Asia. So in his book, he mentioned different incidences, social structure, social life, languages, culture of that place, traditions. So different experiences, different incidences of that time he took in his diary. And that one knowledge, nowadays it became the source of history for us. So Marco Polo, the Italian traveler of the 13th century, introduced Asia, especially China to Europe when he traveled. So he stayed in China for 17 years and he wrote about the flora and fauna, social life, cultural life, and the trade system of Asia. So Marco Polo is a one Italian traveler of 13th century. So while traveling or when he was in China for 17 years, he observed the culture, languages, their traditions, all these things, whatever he observed, the social life of the people in China, he observed in these 17 years and he took in his diary. And that one knowledge, it became their one source of history for us. And that it is the tourism. It is the history of tourism for us. So Marco Polo, one Italian traveler of 13th century, he gave too much knowledge about the tourism of history. Third one, European traveler, if we see here, his name is Ibn Battuta. So Ibn Battuta, the traveler of the 14th century, took the world on a virtual travel of the Islamic world with his travel accounts. Students, please note it. Very important thing that is means virtual travel of the Islamic world. It means Islamic world, Islamic states which are there about that. So about his experiences. So like Ibn Battuta, so students, Ibn Battuta, the traveler of 14th century, took the world on a virtual travel of the Islamic world with his travel accounts. So he was traveling for 30 years. Ibn Battuta traveled for 30 years and he had resolved. It means his specialty, that is means he not repeated his route twice or again. The same route is not followed by him. Now we also see on Google, we search the different routes. So by that way here, he traveled and his travels, his experiences he took in his book. So while traveling, he visited different markets. So trade relations, business, currency, economy of that time, he observed and important events he took in his book. So he was Ibn Battuta. After that, another one European traveler, if we see, his name is Gerardus. Gerardus Mercator. So mostly he thought about the world map and the globe. So when he was traveling, for that, first one thing means he prepared the map and even the globe and the travel routes, and that is means it became very useful for the present time. So Gerardus Mercator of 16th century was a cartographer and he is known for creating a world map and globe of the earth, and his work proved to be very useful for navigation around the world. It means his work also it became very useful for the navigation. So many navigators those travel from the country to country by sea routes. So for them also marketers experiences and his knowledge it became very useful. So he is one European traveler who traveled at the different places of the world, and his experiences he took in his diary, and that one knowledge nowadays it became one important thing to us. It is one became source of knowledge to us. Students, if we turn to this next one point, now here one point given, that first one thing that is what is tourism. If you see here, tourism can be defined as traveling to visit places in distant region for a specific purpose. specific purpose. Means students, many people travel from their village to another village, from one village to city. So for sometimes for some fairs, some festivals, sometimes marriages, or even some people travel from one state to another state. For example, Maharashtra to Delhi, or other some states which are there, they travel from one state to another state. And sometimes people travel to one country to another. Now in that one important here, person given, his name is Thomas Cook. So he was one travel agent. First time his work means it is noteworthy work in the context of the tourism history. He organized a trip by the railway from Leicester to Luxembourg. First time, it means it was earlier, it was unknown concept or something new he done. So 600 people traveled that time. So later he was successful in the organizing a round trip of Europe. It means a round trip of Europe was he arranged. His name was Thomas Cook in 19th century. So later half of the 19th century means one special person, this famous person of that time, one travel agent. His name was Thomas Cook. So he opened there one special office, and as per that he started the booking, and people also shown too much interest in his policy. And by that we hear this one concept which is there from Europe, it is encouraged for tourism in 19th century. So Thomas Cook, now here we can see his office of 19th century. So that time mostly people, those were showing interest to travel the different places in the world. So they were showing too much interest, and they were trying to travel from one place to another with the help of Thomas Cook's travel agency. So Thomas Cook and his agency means this became one important source for tourism to the people in 19th century. A Cook's ticket brings the world to you. It means with this advertisement, he became one famous person of that time. Now students, if we see the tradition of traveling from the corner to corner, now it means in the world entirely, many different places which are there, people were showing too much interest in the 19th century to visit at the different places. And Thomas Cook's agency which was there, it became very beneficial to them, and people started to travel. Now another one point here students given to us, do you know the tradition of traveling from corner to corner was prevalent in India from ancient times. Now here also one person name given, Vishnu Bhatt Godse, wrote down the accounts of his journey from Maharashtra to Ayodhya and back to Maharashtra. It means Vishnu Bhatt Godse from our Maharashtra, he travelled from Maharashtra to Ayodhya, and again he turned back. So that one period, especially that one period of, it was one period of struggle. It means the uprising of 1857. So while traveling, he took there many experiences at the different places. The freedom struggle of 1857, it was means one great example, and he seen that he took the experiences, and it is published in a book entitled Maza Pravas. So Maza Pravas means Pravas. He travelled from Maharashtra to Ayodhya, and from Ayodhya to Maharashtra back. So while travelling, his experiences he took in his book. So Vishnu Bhatt travelled during the times of the Indian War of Independence in 1857. And he was the eyewitness of many events related to these historical events, and his accounts are full of detailed descriptions about various incidences during this period, especially about the life of the Lakshmi Bai, Miss Rani Lakshmi Bai. That time is mostly one famous personality of the history, Rani Lakshmi Bai. So her experiences, her incidences, her war with the British, against the British, how she fought against British, so that also is seen by his eyes. And these all experiences mostly he tried to write in his book, and his book name is Maza Pravas. So in Maza Pravas, he took these incidences clearly, and because of that only nowadays we can understand the exact condition of that period. So Maza Pravas, it became one useful book to us to take the knowledge of.
Yes, start.
Students, with this point and with the help of this traveling of Vishnupat Godse and with his book Maza Pravas, we took the short information about his tourism in Maharashtra to Ayodhya. So after this, next one point we will see in the next lecture, and we will continue about the tourism and history of our country.